Happy November. It's November 5th. Wild. Did you do any Sephora sale shopping?
I did. I tried to hold myself back, but I had to get a few things like setting spray, some new brushes, because a lot of my brushes are like 10 plus years old. And
Same.
then I needed some like new sunscreen. So I really tried to keep it to the basics. I didn't get anything super fun or exciting, but I did have to partake in the sale.
What setting spray do you use?
I use the
Do you just
this is
happen to have it right there? We didn't plan this.
no. I was sitting here doing my makeup right before this, and so I was like, "Oh, let me just show you the one size setting spray." It's my favorite. It's what I used for my wedding, and I've gone through like 3 bottles of these now, and so it's like
Is
the only one I
it
ever use.
is it the new one that has like the glass finish or the regular one?
No, I
Have you
honestly
seen
wanna
the new one that came out?
yes, and I wanna try it, but I didn't even think about buying it this round. I just know I'm out of my normal one, and I was like, "Oh, let me just get a restock," but I have seen it, and I do wanna try it. I didn't even think about buying it. My brain was just like, "What do I need to refill?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's in my cart and the sale might be is the sale over? I may have missed it. I really just kind of was like, if I don't need something right now, I'm just gonna wait till the next Sephora sale. I feel like they do them more often than they used to. It
Yeah,
used to
I feel like
truly be 2 times a year. Now it keeps popping up here and there.
right, I feel like they do it, yeah, a few times a year now, where once it was just like, "Oh my gosh, this giant Sephora sale, like Black Friday, whatever." Okay, I just looked it up. You have until the 10th, so you're good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe I'll try it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into the football stuff, because I think we have some really interesting topics today, the World Series did end. The Dodgers won, which I watched the tail end of the last game on Saturday, and I really thought it was going to be Toronto
Me
to pull it
too. I
off.
felt so badly
So
for
sad,
Toronto.
especially because they were playing in Toronto. They seemed to be winning the game at one point. Like, I mean, it was super close, but
Yeah.
I I felt it in my body just, like, sad for them.
Yeah, I know. I was not that I pay attention to much baseball, but I feel like the World Series is kind of like the Super Bowl. It's just a pop culture event too. And I just felt so sad for Toronto. Everyone looks so upset and they were in Toronto, which makes it so much worse. We were watching it here and there a little bit, you know, turning it on, turning it off, whatever. And we saw that last hit that the Blue Jays had and it was the double out, and I was just like, "That's so tough." Like, that's such a tough way to lose.
I know. It's so interesting because baseball I mean, I guess it's like any sport. It's a team sport, but also feels so individual at the same time because it's like but maybe baseball more so than other sports where literally that one thing that one person did made the final impact, which it's
Yeah.
a heavy mental load,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really tough.
but maybe next year.
Yeah. There's always next year.
Okay, so Cardi B at the Patriots game, let's talk about it.
I was actually surprised. I had to look this up because I was like, "There's no way this is her first NFL game." But it
I
was. It
thought
was
that
like her
was weird
NFL
too, yeah.
it was like her debut, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, she's pregnant with Stephon Diggs' baby, and so I figured surely she'd made an appearance before, but I guess not. But I thought she looked amazing. She has a cute little bump. She was dressed in head to toe Bottega, all
Her coat
maroon, like
was
even her
so pretty.
gloves. Yeah, I
Yes,
thought she
her
looked fantastic.
agree. I thought it was really funny that she was sitting next to Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, because I was thinking about it. What usually gets you the invite to go sit with the owner in the owner suite? Because yes, she's a huge celebrity, but she's not the first big celebrity at a football game. She's not the biggest celebrity at a football game. Like Taylor doesn't sit with the Hunts every game. What is Stephon Diggs? Is he really good and, like, a prominent figure for the Patriots? And that goes into the invite, or they just knew it was gonna be a media moment?
I honestly don't know. That's such a good question. I don't know, at what point do you get the invite? Is it like, the owner comes to Stephon Diggs and he's like, "Hey, I'd love to invite Cardi B to my suite," and that's why she has made her appearance now?
True.
Or is it the opposite? Stephon is like, "Hey, Cardi B wants to come. Anybody wanna host her in their suite?" And the
Yeah,
owner's
so,
like,
like,
"Yeah, me for
maybe he
sure."
doesn't have maybe he doesn't have a suite, for her to bring her whole crew, so they needed
Yeah.
to find one. I guess that
But
makes
sitting
a
next to
ton
the
of
owner just feels like you're here and then you just immediately jump up.
Right, exactly, exactly, because it's a professional moment too. It's literally sitting with your boyfriend's boss.
Mhm. Right. Which feels
I
like a
don't
lot of pressure.
know, it
If
looks
I
like
were
such
Cardi,
a
I'd be like, "Ah, I'm okay. I'll just get some I put me in the 300 section. Like, I'm good," you know?
Right. Is she a big football fan? I'm trying to imagine what their small talk was about.
Yeah. Like, how much does she know about the Patriots, football in general? Are they talking about their baby? Are they talking about what's going on the field? Are they not talking at all? You know?
And the other thing, are they sitting together the whole game? Like, I saw,
Right.
obviously, just pictures where they were sitting together, but that could literally be 10 minutes out of an entire football game, I don't know.
Right. Interesting. She looked good nonetheless.
But she looked amazing, I want that coat. I love the coat so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is probably the most bizarre thing that I think is going on right now, and it's about LSU. And the governor getting involved. As so last week or a week and a half ago, we were kind of talking about how the students were like chanting to fire their coach, Brian Kelly. They
Mhm.
did fire the coach. And then it was just like a stream of domino effect of all these other, I think a lot of pointing fingers. I think
Yeah.
there's been with the other firings being like, "We're parting ways, this isn't working." This LSU drama has felt like a lot of pointing fingers, throwing under the bus, and just, like, blame.
Mhm. Well, right now, they don't have a president, an athletic director, or a head coach, which is insane. So
It's
it's like,
crazy.
who steps in to then start making these decisions? And I guess the governor said, "Me, I'll do it."
Which and that
Like,
makes sense because I think having no leadership at all in any of those roles, that is conducive to finger pointing because all of a sudden everyone starts to act like a kid again.
right. It is just interesting to be like, there's nothing else going on in the state of Louisiana that you need to be concerned with.
Right? Literally.
But I guess if LSU is like a big economic driver,
Yeah.
then he is concerned.
And that yeah, and that's where I was trying, because obviously Louisiana of all states has other fish to fry than coach the coach of a football team, but when you do think of it being a state school and how much money you are paying, like, the coach and all of that, I think it's hard to compute how much taxpayer dollars really do go into college sports.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we talk so much about the boosters, the donors, now NIL, but it's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wait, it is still technically something that residents contribute to."
Yeah,
So when you
that's
are
true.
throwing $100,000,000 but this is where, again, like, sometimes I'm like, money isn't real because what is $100,000,000 actually divided by how many people live in the state of Louisiana? It's
Right,
like $2 of their
right.
taxes. I don't
Which
know.
is just crazy to think about.
Right? So it's like I never really fully understand how to break all that down. Part of me thinks that the governor is just like wanting in on the drama because I did see he's a huge LSU fan. Like, I'm like,
He's like, "I have a
where
personal tie to this."
exactly, exactly. I'm like, where is he maybe sticking his well, I don't know what the saying is, but like
Like,
where is
knows where it
he
doesn't belong.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Because you can know how to X, but it doesn't mean that you know how to do Y. And I feel
Right,
like a lot of times people in power think that they can do all of it,
right. Well, he's like, "I can lead the state of Louisiana, why can't I lead the college of or the University of LSU?" You know?
especially when you think about every male who is even just like, I don't know, the most average job, he thinks he can run the team too.
Yes, every person, like, every guy over the age of 25 is like, "I could have done that job." Like, "I could lead this team to victory."
Exactly.
Well, and it's also interesting too because then it's like, I wonder what all the other coaches think. That they're
Yeah,
like, "Okay, well, we just lost our boss, our boss's boss, and our boss's boss's boss. We lost our
yeah.
head coach, our athletic director, and our president. Now what do we do? We're taking orders from the literal governor." And, like, who I don't even know who the governor elected to coach because they play on Saturday. They play
Interesting.
they play Alabama on Saturday. So, yeah, so I don't know what their game plan is from here on out because that's gonna be a really dicey game. It would have been anyway, but the fact that they're playing Alabama on, this weekend after all of this drama, it's just so crazy.
I want I want the governor to step in as head coach for the game. There are no rules anymore. Everyone's just doing whatever we want. Like, let's just do this for the plot. This sounds like a thing that was
Literally
just throw 'em
just
out there
thinking
on the
that,
field,
I wanna see the governor out there with a headset on, calling
right?
plays. Like, please,
Truly, why not at this point?
why not?
2025 is a weird year. Let's do it.
Let's just wrap this thing up with a little bow and have the governor head coach as the head coach for the rest of the season.
There's no rules. We do whatever we want.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So, what else happened? Another firing.
Auburn also
Auburn.
fired their head coach, which again goes back to my point. We're all just playing head coach ping pong. If we're all firing our head coaches and all the head coaches are getting rehired elsewhere, I don't really understand the point.
No. And then I saw something where some teams that actually do need to fire their coach are not going to fire their coach because now there's so many good teams that or like big spending teams that need a
Mm.
head coach that they would just get a really bad deal or have to spend too much or just not even have a decent option to choose from. So then now they can't fire their coach even though they're the ones that probably actually should, and it's this whole thing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
This is crazy.
It really is. It's absurd.
It's absurd. We're also my husband and I are watching Chad Powers right now. We're loving it. But it is funny to see how like they did well, in my, professional opinion, they did such a good job at weaving in like real life college football scenarios into all of these things. There's some things obviously. I mean, the whole premise of the show is a man dressing up to be another person. So like that obviously wouldn't happen. But we don't know. You're right. We don't know. It could happen. But all of the other like premises of the show, they do such a good job at like staying on track with sports and college football and all of that stuff. So it is interesting to see how all of this is like played out in real life and then how they also wrote all of these things into the show because we are seeing so much drama in real life and then the drama in the show is not far off with reality. And
Okay.
so it's quite interesting for us to be in college football season and watching Chad Powers at the same time because like I said, there's a lot of similarities over things that you would not expect.
I need to start it. I'm gonna start it this week. It keeps popping up and I keep being like, "Okay, I need to start it," and then I don't. But I just finished watching. I started from start to finish, um, Mad About You from the '90s, and
Well, I've
then
never watched that.
it's so good, it's so
Okay.
funny, it's a good comfort show. It's
Mhm.
basically about, couple who it starts, I think, like, their first week of marriage or something like that, and then it lasted, like, 12
Uh-huh.
seasons, but it's very cute. It's a good feel-good sitcom. So, I've been watching that, and then they did a reboot in 2019. So then I finished that, and now I feel like I don't know, I feel like I lived with them because I watched it every day for, like, 12 seasons worth or something like that, so I'm, like, mourning that they're not in my life,
Oh my
but
gosh,
now
that's
I
so funny.
have space to bring something new in. So I'm gonna start that, especially if you're saying there's so many parallels, because I think that too is another good way to understand what's going on in sports if it's done remotely accurately, which obviously you need someone to tell you if it
Right.
is or not, which you're telling us it is.
I will say it's a lot easier too because the episodes are only 20 minutes long.
Auburn fires their head coach. We have taken such a long way to get here. I'm like, "What did we talk
My
about?"
mind is
Yes,
like, "Ugh."
all the all the firings, and then the Chad Powers show that talks about firings too. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
It's crazy.
But Auburn started the season off strong. I remember being like, "Oh, wow, they are
Auburn's
topping the
back.
charts."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just I guess it fell off my radar, so
Yeah. I mean, they haven't made any news except in the worst way It's kind of like Penn State. Everyone had such high hopes for them, and then as the season's gone on longer and longer, everyone's just kind of like, "Ooh, yikes, we're just not gonna talk about it."
Do you know how long the coach has been coaching for them?
I don't. Let me look it up.
I feel like I don't remember hearing anything recently about them having a new coach.
Hugh Freeze was the head coach at Auburn for slightly over 2.5 seasons,
So not that long.
so not that long.
That
There's
name
people
sounds
saying
familiar.
Hugh Freeze's firing continues 50-year coaching trend at Auburn. Oh my gosh. This is from Alabama.com. Every Tigers head coach in the last 50 years, 8 of them in all, not counting interim coaches, has either been fired or forced out.
Interesting.
That is crazy. The last one who left Auburn on his own terms was Ralph Jordan, who retired at the end of 1975 after 25 years.
So long ago.
That's so long
That's
ago. Why have they had
crazy.
so many coaches? Thank you, Alabama.com.
Right. What a fun fact. That's a great fun fact to bring into the weekend.
Yeah. You guys can bring that up whenever you're sitting around watching football, watching the Auburn game, and being like, gosh, can't believe this is the 8th head coach that's been fired or forced out.
I feel like when we for a few weeks ago, again, that was still when we thought Auburn was doing well. Hard pivot, fired their coach. Who is like the top contenders now? So we knew going into this, like Ohio State was probably going to be a given. Indiana started to creep in. Who else is in there?
Ohio State, Indiana. Indiana's kind of surprising. They kind of snuck up on everyone.
Right? I know. And
They
then
were
now I'm like,
so
okay.
unsuspecting. Yeah. They were so unsuspecting at first. And then it was like, oh, okay. Well, Indiana's one of the 2 teams that still has an undefeated season.
Crazy.
Yeah.
They're Big Ten. Okay. So they had the same similar schedule as Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So really interesting. I would say Alabama kind of had a rough start, but they're back in it. Alabama, Georgia, the classics, some new ones that, well, new in a while that I haven't seen in my time with college football. Texas A&M, Texas Tech, BYU is ranked number 7. It's like, okay, go
Okay.
off. Notre Dame made it. They also had a rocky start, but they're looking pretty good right now. So they're one to watch as well.
How did you see Memphis is 12?
No.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't I don't know. I don't know. I, like, had to do a double take. I was like, "Am I looking at basketball?"
That is so interesting. What?
Yeah. Or no, 22. Okay. No, they're 22. But still, in the
Still,
top 25,
yeah, in the top 25 is crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at the teams they play. They play they play Rice, so I don't know what I mean, okay.
Interesting.
They play Tulsa, who's coming up for them. So they just beat Rice. They're playing Tulane, East Carolina, and then Navy.
Hmm.
I
I'm curious
mean,
to see
I feel
how.
like it goes back to what we talked about the rankings and like the conferences. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems like there are teams that have in other conferences that would need that 22 spot more.
Well, this is, yeah, just like we've talked about the past couple of weeks, that it is so subjective. And I'm shocked to see them in the top 25 because their schedule doesn't sound that hard.
No, they played Florida Atlantic, Tulsa, UAB, South Florida, and then Rice.
That is so interesting. I
They
mean,
haven't
there's other people with worse records that are above and below them in the rankings, but I would assume that Tennessee, who is ranked below them,
right,
has had to have had
exactly.
a harder schedule than Memphis.
I mean, literally any other team who we named who's played against the teams that we've played, like Texas Tech and BYU, both in the Big 12. Literally any other team then who has beat Texas Tech or BYU this year,
Yeah. They're
right?
the only, yeah, and they're interesting. I'm looking at the rankings right now. They're the only one that are either not in the SEC, ACC, or Big 10 or Big 12. I've
I'm like,
never even
did
heard of the
someone
American
typo?
Conference, but that's not saying much.
I'm literally like, it wasn't a typo. It I'm I want each ranking to come with like a 2-second blurb on why.
Yeah. That is such a good point. The people that decide these things should have to justify their answers to the rest of us.
Exactly. Because I'm sure they have their own notes. So like put it in the little chat GPT robot, give us 1 to 2 sentences, and we can all be at peace.
Yeah. And then we can all discuss later, but you should have to justify your actions. That is such a good point. For the
I'm
college
genuinely
for,
so
like,
confused.
the football playoffs, the college football playoffs, I'm gonna go to the Gaylord when they're released and be
Yes.
like,
My
"Tell me
gosh,
why.
yes.
Tell me why." They're gonna be like, "Who is this random girl that knows nothing about football?"
Or just, like, eavesdrop on the conversation.
Yeah. I'm so unsuspecting, I'll just follow them around the
Exactly,
hotel
like, you
all
could
the
literally
time.
just have, like, a tea and just be no one would think anything of it.
Yeah, that's so funny.
What games are on the radar? We already talked about LSU and Alabama, so we'll see what happens there. I mean,
Mhm.
with the chaos of LSU, Alabama will probably win, but what else?
I'll be interested to see how the team bands together amidst all of
Yeah,
the
that's true.
chaos. You know,
That's
that's what
true.
I'll be watching for. But probably the biggest game of the weekend, this is where college game day is going to be, is BYU and Texas Tech. BYU is 7 and Texas Tech is 8, or BYU is 8 and Texas Tech is 9. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, BYU is 8 and Texas Tech is 9. And so that's probably the biggest game of the weekend. They're playing, I think, at 11 Eastern. And
Okay.
so the rest of the day is not as crazy. Now all the games are just going to be interesting to watch because there's games like, LSU Alabama, but also games like Oregon and Iowa, who it is really touch and go as to whether Oregon is going to continue to win to establish their playoff spot, because Iowa, something about this. Iowa's known to, when they're the underdogs, Oregon's playing at Iowa, they're known to upset people at their home stadium. And so that'll be
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah. And if Iowa wins this, do a
Wait, is it normal for Oregon and Iowa to play each other? That feels like a random.
great question. That does feel kind of random. But if Iowa wins, they have a pretty good shot at the playoffs. So they're
Yeah,
they're taking this just as seriously as
that's
Oregon
no,
is.
you're
So
right.
that'll be interesting. And
Good
then
point.
Penn State and Indiana. I know Penn State has sucked recently, just to put it plainly. But Indiana, with a 9-0 record, Penn State has nothing to lose, and Indiana has everything
Exactly.
to lose, which tends to add a little bit of spice to these games.
Exactly, and that is the beauty of college football is that these crazy upsets always do end up happening, especially at this point in the season.
Yeah.
So,
And
I think that will
honestly,
be
maybe it's just because I've only taken it seriously this season and actively been a participant in all things college football. But the season hasn't really been, the first part of the season was pretty crazy and was like really interesting, but the bad teams just keep losing and the good teams just keep
Yeah,
winning. And so it hasn't really made for anything super interesting. So I'll be curious to see, as we get closer to the playoffs, how things shake out, because just like Penn State, teams are more and more likely to have nothing to lose, and teams are more and more likely to have everything to lose. And like I said, that's always when it gets a little bit dicey, and that's what I'm here for. So it'll be
yeah.
interesting to watch these next few weeks.
No, that's so true. So then in the NFL, I saw the Chiefs could miss the playoffs. Like that's the big talk about the Chiefs. They have a bye week this week. So we won't know much, but their record is now 5-4 and they are the third ranked team in their division, I think. Denver's the first, which is like
Okay, Broncos.
I know. And then it's the Chargers, Chiefs, then the Raiders. So people are basically saying going forward to make the playoffs, which is doable, they just need to win all the rest of the games. But they probably won't have the first seed, which I mean, as long as they get to the playoffs, I think that they are that team that just somehow pulls it off in the end. But
Hmm.
it is interesting, I think that, like, we got in such a habit of just we got in the habit of them just being the next Patriots. We just assumed now that they always go to the Super Bowl, that they always make it through the playoffs, all of this. And it is interesting to now see this shakeup of being like, actually, and now that it's such a pop culture thing too with Taylor Swift, it's like we just assume that the Chiefs are this like whole part of all of our collective lives. And it's
Right.
like, oh, it's actually not guaranteed. This year could be different. I this year makes it seem like not a guarantee and that it could be it could be an off year where we don't have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again.
That's so interesting. Do you know when the last time they've had a record this bad? I don't know
Probably.
I don't know anything about the Chiefs, but I, like you, am just like, "Oh, well, they're just good. They're just gonna be good," I just don't even watch them because I just assume they're winning, but I guess not.
There was a game I feel like they were, like, Super Bowl, missed the Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, maybe? But
Okay.
they did miss being in it sometime in between the wins and then the almost wins.
Mhm.
But I do think that this probably is something that the Bills are excited for because I feel like the Bills never make it to the Super Bowl because they lose that final game to the Chiefs every time. And I feel like
Yeah.
this could be their year
I feel
to
like
make it through.
yeah, everything that happened when the wind kind of swept the Chiefs when all of like their winning streak, their second Super Bowl, the Taylor Swift of it all, I feel like that's happening with the Bills right now. Now, I could be wrong because I'm mainly
Yes.
looking at the pop culture aspect of it,
Yeah.
but it feels like the world was kind of taken by the Chiefs for a short period of time. And now the world is kind of taken with the Bills because the Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld of it all, and just the amazing coverage they're getting in the media, the way the Bills are playing. It's really interesting to see how everything has shifted from the Chiefs to the Bills, it feels like this season.
Agree. So I'm kind of sitting here thinking like, oh, I wonder if the Bills will finally get their chance because I think arguably they've been good enough in the past to go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And it's always been just like losing to those miracle moments that Mahomes pulls off.
Mhm.
So and I also am one of those people that maybe believe to a fault that eventually your time does come if that's like something that is I don't know how to word it, but essentially like I do get the vibes that Josh Allen knows he's capable of going to the Super Bowl and he knows that that's like part of his journey and I do think that eventually that does happen.
Yeah. I think he's finally getting his flowers. It feels like this is the season for him to at least make it. I don't know if they'll win. Who knows who the other team will be, but it does kind of feel like the wind is beneath his sails and they're headed in the right direction. And like he's finally getting his flowers, on all aspects of life. So it is kind of exciting to see. I know people love the Chiefs and they love to hate the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see like another team in the spotlight. Because the Chiefs have taken a little bit of a backseat this season.
It's true. It's true. Anything else we need to know going into the weekend? I feel like that's like it's kind of a quiet weekend.
It's kind of a quiet weekend for my household's sake. I'm hoping it's a quiet weekend and that Ohio State wins and that everything turns out the way it should for, the Big Ten. But I'd love to see some upsets. I think that's all that there is this weekend. There's nothing else to report until we get that much closer into the playoffs and bowl season and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right. So let us know what questions you have. If anything comes up over the weekend, if you see any amazing outfits, send those to us too.
Yes,
We
please.
love a good game day outfit.
Hmm.
And we will be back with y'all next week.
Bye, guys.